This is Group F with our project on why the U.S. Supreme Court examined a $6 million opioid addiction settlement. For some background information, in 1996, Purdue introduced Oxycontin. Oxycontin was the kickstart to the drug epidemic. Multiple people have argued tons of lawsuits against Purdue. These lawsuits prompted Purdue in 2019 to file for a Chapter 11 bankruptcy to address the debts. Purdue filed for bankruptcy because under the settlement they would receive immunity in exchange for payment up to $6 million. Billion dollars. They are able to achieve this bankruptcy without actually being bankruptcy through a non-debtor release or third-party release.
The Supreme Court blocked a multi-billion-dollar bankruptcy settlement by Purdue Pharma that would protect its Sackler family owners from civil lawsuits related to opioid abuse. The Supreme Court also said it will hear a challenge to the settlement by Purdue, the maker of the opioid Oxycontin. The issue for the justices is whether the legal shield that bankruptcy provides can be extended to people such as the Sacklers, who have not declared bankruptcy themselves. The Sackler family agreed as part of the settlement to contribute $6 billion over the next 2 decades. Members of the wealthy Sackler family would be exempt from any civil lawsuit. At the same time, they could potentially keep billions of dollars from their profits on Oxycontin sales.
In this case involves releases in favor of the non-debater Sackler family, who own Purdue Pharma and are accused of fueling the national opioid epidemic. Despite initial claims of low addiction risk, growing evidence of widespread abuse led to legal battles across the United States, with multiple stakeholders, including individuals, state governments, and federal agencies suing Purdue. Opioid-related overdose deaths have continued to climb, hitting 8,000 in recent years. Most of those are from fentanyl and synthetic drugs. Although Purdue declared bankruptcy in 2019, the Sacklers did not. Litigation against both parties was temporarily handled. The estate of Purdue is estimated to be around $1.8 billion, whose claims against both Purdue and the Sacklers are estimated to exceed $40 trillion.
A few points as to why the government would be concerned with this opioid settlement is one, the public health relations and concerns. Opioid addiction has been a severe public health crisis in the United States, and the government has a vested interest in addressing the impact of opioid abuse on communities, individuals, and the healthcare system. Any settlement related to opioid addiction would likely be scrutinized to ensure that it contributes significantly to mitigating the public health consequences. Second point is the legal accountability. Settlements often involve resolving legal claims and holding parties accountable for alleged wrongdoings. The U.S. government may review the terms of the settlement to ensure that it adequately addresses the legal aspects of the case, including admissions of guilt, financial penalties, and other measures to prevent future misconduct. A third point is the allocation of funds. If the settlement involves a financial component, the U.S. government may examine how the funds will be allocated, ensuring that the settlement money is directed toward addressing the opioid crisis, funding treatment programs, supporting affected communities, and implementing prevention measures is crucial for the government's oversight. The fourth point is prevention and future compliance. The government may assess whether the terms of the settlement include provisions to prevent similar issues in the future. This may involve changes in business practices, enhanced oversight, and compliance measures to ensure that the pharmaceutical company adheres to regulations and ethical standards. And finally, transparency and fairness. The U.S. government may examine the transparency of the settlement process and ensure that it is fair and just. This includes assessing whether affected parties, such as individuals and communities impacted by opioid addiction, have been adequately represented and compensated.
A few more points that I would like to make. The first one would be addressing the opioid crisis. The settlement aims to address the devastating impact of the opioid crisis in the United States. Purdue Pharma, the manufacturer of Oxycontin, faced numerous lawsuits alleging it's played a role in fueling the opioid epidemic through aggressive marketing and misinformation about the drug's active properties in order to make more money. Second would be compensation for damages to people who were hurt by the drug. Settlements like this seek to compensate affected individuals, communities, and states for damages caused by opioid addiction. Funds from such settlements are often allocated to support addiction treatment programs, healthcare, education, and law enforcement initiated aims to combating the crisis. The third would be legal accountability. Examining and approving the settlement includes holding Purdue Pharma accountable for its alleged role in contributing to the opioid epidemic. This legal process involves negotiating terms that provide meaningful relief to those affected while holding the responsible parties accountable, such as Purdue Pharma. And fourth would be preventing future misconduct. Settlement agreements typically include provisions designed to prevent similar misconduct in the future. They may involve changes in marketing practices, increased transparency, or other measures to prevent deceptive or unethical practices in the pharmaceutical industry. And last would be public health impact. The opioid crisis has been severe public health consequences, including addiction, overdose deaths, and strains on healthcare systems. Examining the settlements aims to ensure that the allocated funds and terms of the agreement effectively address these public health concerns. Overall, the opioid epidemic has claimed thousands of lives and strained healthcare systems. The examining cases like Harrington versus Purdue Pharma LP is a step towards justice in aiding the recovery of affected communities. And this is Group F.